fenirob here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Space Empires 4X and my thoughts about the game after several plays of it. I'm showing you the end board at the end of a game on Board Game Arena against my buddy Evil Jeff. I was the red player. This is my home planet. He was the blue player, and this is his home planet. As you can see, it's full of my ships right here because I ended up winning the game and destroyed the planet. So basically, if you look at the map here, you can see the various planets. Some of them are just regular planets. Some of them are barren, which means you cannot make a colony there unless you terraform first, and you need to get that technology. I actually had a colony ship that I forgot did not have terraform, as you can see there, the big 0. So we were vying over this planet right here and this planet, and I could not use this to colonize it. I did not figure that out until I wasted resources protecting it from Evil Jeff, and as you can see here at the end of the game, I didn't even control that. It didn't really matter at the end of the day, but it is a point about the rules of the game. That is, when you upgrade your technologies, when you discover new technologies like terraform, any ships that are already in existence do not upgrade automatically. In fact, you need to spend colony points at a shipyard, and those are located at some of these planets here. So there's a shipyard. If you have a shipyard, you can bring those units there and spend some colony points, and you will then be able to upgrade to the newest technology. But that, requires resources and time. This right here is a black hole. It's really cool on Board Game Arena how it brings up the rules. These basically make you have to roll a 6 or less, and if you don't, you will lose ships. These are asteroids. They will prevent any attack strength from being counted. These are nebula, and they will do the same, but with defense. This is a supernova. These are basically walls that you can't go around. The space is blocked for the rest of the game. When the board starts, you have everything covered up except for your home planet, and you're going to work your way out into the galaxy. And here in these first spaces here, you're going to have your own colored chits. As you can see, there's just a few spots we didn't explore. These white chits would have been in the empty space area that were not in our home region. So his blue ones were up here, even though he didn't know what was there. And my red ones were down here, and even though I didn't know what was there. And these would have given us things like resources, other planets to colonize, and possibly one black hole in this area. That was mine, and it took out one of my ships. He definitely lost some ships to black holes as well. But out here in the middle, these would have been empty space, which have some cooler rewards at times, like mineral deposits that are 10 instead of 5 colony points. But they also have things like danger, which are spaces that when you hit them are almost like landmines, they blow up. We were playing with the basic rules. I haven't played with the advanced stuff yet, like carriers and fighters and things like that. But the base game in and of itself is chock full of strategic choices. The combat is dice-based and can sometimes get a little swingy. But as you can see here, if you look on the chit of this cruiser, where it says C4-1, 4 would be the attack, 1 would be the defense, and 2 would basically be the hull size or hit points. In addition, though, my technologies allowed me to have a bonus of attack 2. So that means I have the base of the 4 attack plus the 2, and I would then have to roll a 6 or less. And that could be modified by the unit's defense value. Again, I'm not here to tell you the rules specifically, just kind of give you an overview. But you're going to be rolling dice to fight, and it's going to be swingy no matter what you have. We went back and forth. There was a couple of times where I had a 60% chance of hitting and I missed, and Jeff had a 10% chance of hitting and hit 3 times in a row. So you have all that stuff. But I mean, most 4X games have that factor to it anyway these days. I will say that this game is definitely a war game. That 4th X of extermination is the goal of the game. So there is definitely going to be some fighting here. And the play is really tense. You have a little while to sort of ramp up your engine, but before long you'll realize, because you may not have as many planets where you need them, you're not going to be able to build up that economic engine, and you're going to have to sort of concentrate on one thing. Like I was focusing in this game ultimately on getting some dreadnoughts and heavier units out on the board so that I could cause some damage. I mean, these have the best attack and defense in the game and a hull size of 3. They're very expensive, but I had, you know, a lot of movement. I had maxed out my attack and defense and my tactics. Jeff also had maxed out a lot of those, but my speed ended up killing him in this game, I think, ultimately. I had these ships that had movement of 6 and 7, and I was able to get out there a lot quicker than he was. I was able to get behind his defenses and sort of retreat my way into his territory, and finally got to his home base, which he thought was protected, but it was not. I rolled very well, saved all my good rolls till the end of the game. Basically, in this game, you're going to have to make some really tough choices that get you where you need to go, at least to compete, so that you can, you know, get to a place where the rolls matter. Now let's take a look at the game stats, which is another cool feature of the Board Game Arena. I'm fenirob, obviously, and Evil Jeff is Starlord65 on there. You should check him out. He loves to compete and play. As you can see, we both had 55 turns in the game. He ended the game with having more scouts than I did. I had more cruisers. I was basically using my cruisers as exploring tools because they can be equipped with exploration if you research that, and then they can see in the space next to them so they don't have to worry about stepping into a danger zone or something bad. He had more battle cruisers than I did. I think when he realized that I had a dreadnought, I think he had to step up his game. I ended up with the same amount of battleships as him, but my ships were faster and I think a little bit better equipped, as you'll see. He ended up with far more colonies and colony ships than I did in the game. As I pointed out on the previous screen, that I had some colony ships that I just couldn't use because they didn't have terraform on them, so that kind of hurt me. And plus, it didn't seem like I had any planets close by for me to colonize. They seemed to be towards the top end of the board. Let's see here, shipyards, he had more than I did. Again, my movement technology, as you can see down here, it was 7 at the end of the game to his 4, and that's a significant difference. I think I was moving something like 7 or 8 spaces each round every 3 turns to his 6, and that really makes a difference on the board. I was able to maneuver and kind of hit his mining ships, which you can see he ended up having more than I did. Let's see here, he had 4 miners to my 2. I killed at least 2 of his during the game. Decoys are really cool in this game. I didn't talk about that on the other screen, but they allow you to make it look like you have groups of fighting ships, but once they're encountered, they disappear off the map. And it really helps because, again, with the economy as tight as it is, you see those counters coming towards you, you start to get very tense because you think you're about to get attacked and realize at the end of the day there was no threat, but you didn't know. So that's another cool factor of this game. I think the overall thought here for me is it's very tense. At least at some point in the game, it's going to get super tense. Ship size technology, we maxed that out. Attack maxed out, defense maxed out. I had better tactics than he did, which meant anytime we had similar class ships, like his cruisers against my cruisers, I would get to fire first, even if usually the defender gets to go if it's even. So this gave me a bit of an advantage because you get some pot shots. Again, my move technology was really good. Everything else was pretty even. So, I mean, that's a pretty cool feature that Board Game Arena has. Let me go back to the final situation here. So overall, if you like any kind of 4X game at all, certainly if you like a space theme, I highly recommend this game. It's not as flashy as something like Eclipse, but it definitely scratches the same itch for me. In fact, I find this game to have some sort of nostalgic effect to it that something like Eclipse doesn't have. Maybe it's the counters, maybe it's the whole concept of filling out a research chart, which is also kind of a downside of the game, but it still has that kind of nostalgic feel to it though, which gives it a plus on my end, because I remember playing some of these types of games in the 80s on the early Commodore 64s and things like that, and thought, how neat is this that I don't have to do the upkeep anymore. There was a game called Reach for the Stars that I used to play all the time. This kind of reminds me of that, except this gives me the chance to play against someone in person or on Board Game Arena, and I really like that. I really can't complain other than the, having to fill out the paper and the chits. Otherwise, this game is almost perfect in every way, and I haven't even really played with any of the expansion stuff. So if you like 4X games, if you like space games, I just can't imagine you're going to go wrong with this. I think everyone should at least try this out. I will say that Jeff, he was loath to play this game because of the way it looked and with the counters and those sorts of things, but he is sold on it and he loves it a lot. He agrees with me that this is a very tense game. It's really exhausting. I think it took us probably, if we were just concentrating on playing, it would have taken us about 2.5 to 3 hours to play this. And of that time, I'd say at least 45 minutes of it was very, very tense. So, it's kind of a stressful game, but that's how it's designed to be. And if you know that going in, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I highly recommend checking this game out. It's really soared to the top of my favorite 4X games for sure. Thank you for watching. If you would, like this video and please subscribe to the channel.